Okay, everybody. Hey, I got my handy dandy notes right here. Really quickly, I want to share with you a few notes as you progress today to shading. First thing, hey, representing. That's right. Go Slew. Uh, a few items for you. One, if yesterday did not go well for you, don't feel afraid to just start over. What you don't see in my drawing videos is that I started over 3 different times. My very first drawing I thought was awesome. I finished it up after like a half hour. I realized it's totally lopsided and crooked, so I had to start over. Um, it happens, even to the best of us. Don't be afraid to start over. I guarantee you the second time around, it's going to go way quicker. A couple other things. Be patient with yourself. I gave that recommendation yesterday, but it bears repeating. Uh, as we progress in this, we're going to want to have this start looking like our face. Be patient. For some of you, your face might start to emerge once you start shading. For others, it might not quite be there yet. It's okay. Be patient with yourself. Think back to the third quarter, how long it took for us to draw that bottle. It took 3 days to even get the structure down. We're still in those foundational starting periods of our faces. So take your time, be patient, trust yourself. Next thing, if you make a mistake, it's okay. Trust me, it's okay. It looks like when you watch my videos, I know exactly what I'm doing all the time. I don't. In fact, in the second featured video in today's video, I make a point to point out that, hey, the eye that I drew was wrong, and I didn't go back and change it. Uh, that being said, if you want to use an eraser, you can use an eraser today. I know a lot of you guys might have some structures or things you know you need to get rid of. Go ahead and erase those things. But here's my suggestion for you. If you're going to use the eraser, use it at the very beginning and then put it away. Because if you hold on to that, it will hinder you, it will slow you down, and I guarantee you, you will get frustrated very, very quickly. So start off, give yourself the permission to start off using the eraser the first couple minutes of your drawing session. Then after you've used it to erase the things you don't need anymore, put it away. You can get it back out at the end of your drawing session to erase those things that you knew you needed to change. But in the meantime, during your session, live with those mistakes. Last thing I want to say, today we're going from making broad, generic marks, forms, values to, as you progress, shade layer of shading by layer of shading, your drawing should be more precise, more accurate, more unique, so that as you start shading, that's going to become more and more like you. The last thing I want to point out, when you're shading these forms, don't be tempted to spend a half hour working on just one eye or 15 minutes on just one ear. You'll notice in both of the videos today that I pop around from one element to the next to the next. I'm developing the whole feature at once, together, as an entirety. I need you guys to do the same today. If you go element by element, your face is going to look distorted and piecemealed together. If you do the whole face generally, popping from one element to the next, it'll feel like a nice, harmonious drawing. That's it for today. Enjoy the video, guys. I hope they're helpful. As always, if you have questions, hit me up, email me, give me a call, message me on Canvas. I'm happy to help. Good luck today, guys. S
A W F T. Swift.
So yesterday I left off finishing putting in the forms of the face onto the page. Today I'm going to shade those forms the appropriate value, generally speaking, starting with the darkest areas first. It might be helpful before you start shading just to go over your values again and double check them, correct them, make them more precise, more accurate to your face. Then, before you even start shading, think about where's the darkest areas of the face. Think of the darkest areas, you're going to go there first. For me, actually, the darkest areas are the hair and the pupils and the eyes. I'm going to hold off on doing those things. I'm going to think just about the skin. So for me, the darkest area would be the right side of the nose. I go in very, very softly, angled, and start shading that. Just a reminder, I'm using a Sharpie so that you can see it clearly on the screen, but I would like for you guys to be shading with pencil. And remember, when you shade with a pencil, use the side of your pencil, your dangerously sharp pencil. Along with dark areas of my face, along with the side of the nose would be the eye socket just above the eye and the eye socket just below the eye. Those are also dark areas. Underneath the nose, also really, really dark. I'm just going, my very first layer, remember, is going to be really, really soft. I'm going to build up layer by layer by layer to make things darker. Eventually, these parts of the face will be a lot darker. I'm shading in larger areas now. You can barely even see the shading going on. That upper lip, the right side of the upper lip, the cleft in the middle. Going it over a second time to make it a little bit darker. If you notice very closely, while it's shaded dark, it's not as dark as the side of the nose, because in my photograph I noticed that the upper lip, while it's also really dark, is not quite as dark as that side of the nose. Now I'm going to go and work on the cheek. I held off on the cheek because it's a really big area, and I just wanted to get my bearings first with my pen. So I fill in that big cheek area, going over it a second time, paying closer attention to the slight changes of value in that very large cheek. It's a big space. There's lots of variations. See, that whole cheek area is shaded. I started with the darkest areas of the cheek, built up 3 different layers of value on that cheek. I go in and fill in that pupil. Even though the pupil is really dark, I'm just shading it in lightly, just to get a sense of the value. I'm going in, if this is my pencil, I'm making my eyelid. I noticed some of the forms I made yesterday of the eyelid weren't 100% accurate, so I'm going in, refining those areas of the eye, making them more precise. Earlier I did the same thing with the nose, I just wasn't talking about it. As I'm shading in the values of the face, I'm also correcting some of the contours to make my face more precise. At this point I don't have to have a perfect face. I'm just trying to refine it bit by bit. As I mentioned yesterday, at this point of the drawing, while it helps to be as precise as possible, you might find that this still doesn't quite look like your face. The more precise you can be shading, the sooner your face will appear. But at this point, it's still not 100% necessary to be 100% accurate. At this point, you're trying to get in the general areas of value on the face. And I'm going back into the cheek. I saw that the cheek had to be darker, that nose needed to be darker. As I'm making those second, third, and fourth layers, I'm being more and more accurate, more and more precise with my shading. So I filled in all my darkest areas. Now I'm going to go into my lighter areas, which happen to be on the left side of my face, because that's the side of the face that has the light directly on it. And while that's a lot brighter than my right side of my face, it still is shaded. So I'm going to shade very, very lightly on the left side. What I did, you probably couldn't see it very closely, is I went in and tried to make my eyelids even more precise. Here I'm making my lips even more precise. I should have done this yesterday. I did not block in the neck, so I'm going to get that neck in there and just the curve of my collar. I'm not going to worry about any more detail than that, because this drawing is about the face, it's not about my clothes. What this does is it gives my head a little bit of a home, so it doesn't feel like I'm just a floating head, but that I have a body to my head. shading in that neck because even though the left side of the neck is bright, the right side is actually really dark as well. Going in, being more precise with my shadows on the forehead, starting to shade in those middle grays and light grays, refining the cheek, working on the ear. In the next few days, when I continue to progress on the different elements of the face, I will continue to enrich and deepen the shading, but this is a great start for now. Thanks for watching. Good luck, guys. So I finished up yesterday blocking in the forms of my face. This is what I came up with. Generally accurate, not 100% precise. Today, as I go along shading, I will keep refining those forms with my values and light contours to make them even more accurate and precise. So as I start shading here, I'm going to start off with the darkest areas first, just like I did drawing that bottle back in the third quarter. And for me, that's going to be the side of my nose. I just go in extremely lightly, dangerously sharp pencil, using the side of my pencil. I'm using a Sharpie so that you guys can see this, but if I'm at home and I'm just doing this with a pencil, I'm going to use the side of my pencil. I'm going to keep those layers really, really soft. The softer you keep those layers, the more rich and precise your drawing will be eventually. So I start off with the darkest areas, the nose, under the lower lip, underneath the lip, the pupils of the eye, and that right side cheek. Those are also dark. The temple or the right side of my forehead, also a dark area. The utmost darkest areas of my whole head would probably be my dark hair. I'm going to hold off on that for right now. I'll eventually get to it, and I might even block it in later here. But to start off with, I'm just worrying about generally the flesh or the skin. And the corner of the lip is a little dark here, and I'm going over the darkest areas, the lower lip here, and underneath the nose. I'm going to start going over those. That's my second layer. That ear I notice is a little bit dark, and then I see that darker areas in that ear. I know I'm going to have to make those darker, so I put in a second and third layer right away. Up here I am doing a little bit of the hair. I'm not worrying about individual strands of hair. I'm thinking about where are the darkest areas of the hair. And I notice that's where they are, right next to my temple, so I'll shade those in because those are in the shadow. I made a light contour line on my neck to define the edge of the cast shadow along my neck from my chin. It's going to be really dark, so I just went ahead and did a second layer automatically. That nostril is going to be dark. I'm paying very, very close attention to the precise angle and size of that nostril. A lot of people just make circles or lines. It's a little bit of an oval, it's a little bit of a line, and it has a precise angle. So pay very close attention to your nostril angle when you block that in. Getting those darker eyebrows. Again, I know those are going to be really dark, so I'm going to put in a couple layers, but they're not nearly as dark as they eventually will be. Right now to be honest, I'm cheating a little bit. I shouldn't be coloring in those pupils that detailed, but even pros get excited and want to jump along to the eyes. And this was a real mistake for me because I noticed in my final drawing when I finished that up, that right eye is actually crooked. But because I skipped ahead, I wasn't able to change that with my Sharpie. Obviously you can do that with a pencil, but I'd rather you not have to do that. We're going to hold off for eyes for tomorrow. So I'm blocking in the values of the rest of the hair, and I won't put much more value in even though my hair is way, way darker. I'll wait to do that later on in the drawing. Right now I am refining my contours. So my contours I did yesterday were pretty good. I'm making these contours even more precise, more accurate, looking very closely at my drawing. I don't know if you pay attention to this at all at the upper left-hand corner, but look at how often I'm looking over to look at my drawing. Pretty much every 10 seconds or so I'm comparing my drawing to my photograph. Just a reminder, I am speeding this up, and I have a lot of experience doing this, so I wouldn't expect that you would be doing this quickly at all. I didn't even do it this quickly. Thanks to the power of iMovie, we can speed things up here. So I have all my general values blocked in at this point. Now what I'm doing is going and make those values more precise, much like we did with the bottle. Making my second, third, fourth layers, making more precise each general form, finding all the subtle value contrasts and changes in each form, and making each form more precise, more accurate, more like my actual face. So that's it for today, everybody. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow we'll work more on the eyes and define even more precisely the other features.
AWFT